Now we're going to talk about setting up the basic infrastructure for doing cold emailing. So what we want to do is the first step is we want to come up with some domain names. Now, typical infrastructure is going to be 5 domain names. And so what you would do is you would want to search. There's a bunch of different domain name generators. One that I like is Namecheap. I actually recommend that you purchase the domains from Cloudflare, but you can use Namecheap as a way to get the domain ideas. So you would go in here and you could put in the brand that you're generating the leads for. So this would be the company that you're doing the outreach from. It doesn't have to be their exact name. It can be something similar. We'll just say car widget, for example. And we can just leave it at that. I would uncheck show premiums. I would check on append prefix, suffix. I would go to under popular. I would only do .com. We recommend just using .com domains as they get the best deliverability and they're the lowest cost. So you click generate. What this will do is it will generate a list of domain names and see which ones are available. So basically it's adding different prefixes and suffixes to those domains so you can see what's available. These can be, again, they don't have to be the exact name, they can be similar, but they should be relevant to the brand in some sort of way. So you want to go through here and you want to pick out 5 of your favorite ones that you want to use. So you could just use try car widget, use car widget, get car widget, the car widget. It doesn't really matter. Again, the shorter these can be, the better. And they should be relevant to the brand and make sense with that. What we're going to do is we're going to set up redirects. So if anyone goes, so where the emails are going to come from these domains, and if anyone goes to this domain, it will redirect to the main site. And then what we want to do, once we want to go through and we want to make a list of these that we want to purchase. Once you have made a list of the domains that you want to use, you want to jump over here to Cloudflare. If you don't have a Cloudflare account, you'll want to go ahead and get one set up. And this can be, you can have one for all of your clients. So I recommend having a specific Cloudflare account for all of the clients that you're managing. Once you log in here, you want to go to register domains, and you will use those particular domains that you selected. So you would just go in here and you would just start to search for these domains. And then you would go ahead and go purchase, and you would fill out all of that information here to purchase that domain. You can use all of your information, or if you have a virtual mailbox or something like that, that might be better to use rather than your public information. They do use a privacy when they save these, so that way the information that you provide isn't publicly available. But I always recommend using like a virtual mailbox for these accounts when you're setting these up, although not a huge deal with that. So you go ahead and purchase the domain, go through that whole process and get them purchased. You'll want to do that for all 5 domains. Once you have done that, then you're going to want to go ahead and invite the reseller to access the domain. So you would go here under manage account members, and you would put in the actual email address for the reseller that is going to be setting up the account. So we want to give them access to the domain in a secure kind of way, so that way you still have ownership of it. So what you want to do is you just want to put their email here. If you're using Cheap Inboxes as an example, you can put them here. Cheap Inboxes provides Google Workspace accounts, and they have pretty good customer service. I'd recommend them. So you would just put in their email here, and then you would go create a policy, and you want to set them as what is it's a domain administrator. So you would go into, you click individual domains, and then you would actually choose the domains that you just purchased here. So there'll be a drop down that will have all the different domains that in your account, and you would just select the ones that you need them to have access to. So we want to limit access as much as we can, but you would want to select the ones that they're going to be setting up because they'll need access to them. Once you've selected those domains, then you want to go ahead and give them domain administrator access. So you would just turn that on there, and then you would click create policy, and that's all you need to do. You would do that, and then they will now be able to log into their Cloudflare account and have access to configure these domains while you still have ownership of them. So they're going to be able to do all the technical configuration as far as what that looks like with all the domain forwarding and all of the technical sides of it. Oh, sorry, didn't see you there.
Just wanted to let you know that we've got a quick outline on everything we covered in this video. If you're interested in getting that, the link's in the description. Just put in your email and we'll send it right over to you. Now let's move back into the content.
Once you have did that, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to actually come up with the names that we're going to use for those domains. So once you have purchased the 5 domains, we need to determine who are they going to come from? What name are they going to come from? And you can use people within the company, but it's important that you actually have different names for each account that you're creating. So in this example, we're purchasing 5 domains, and we're going to create 2 accounts per domain. We're going to be using Google Workspace accounts, so that will be a total of 10 accounts. So I actually recommend just generating random ones because you don't want to use the same name over and over again. That will really affect deliverability. So I have a prompt here that you can use, and that's included. So you can just go ahead and use that prompt. We'll paste that in here. And you'll want to say something like this: generate 10 names from United States. This would be the country that you're going to be reaching out to. And you want to do 2 domains across, and these will be the 5 domains that you purchased. So you would list the 5 domains there. And then the email format would be first name at domain, 1 shared secure password, all domains forward to. This will be the client's website. So the website that you're generating leads for, you'll put that there. And then you want to output it with CSV columns, full name, email, domain, forward to, password warmup, all yes, and no extra text. So you just go ahead and do that there. And I'm just using ChatGPT. You can use Gemini or Claude or any of the LLMs to do this, and it will generate these names for you. If you don't like the names or you want to change them, you can obviously customize that however you want, but this is the basics of what that looks like. So now we have a spreadsheet ready to send to the reseller. What you will end up doing with the spreadsheet is you'll copy this and you'll paste this directly into a Google Sheet is what I recommend. And then we'll be sending that to the reseller in the next step. Once you get that from the LLM, it will look something like this in a spreadsheet. So you just copy and paste that into a spreadsheet here. This will be what you send to the reseller. It's got the name, the email, the domain, got all the information they need. Once you've did that, then you want to jump over to your sequencer tool. In this example, we're using +5, but this is the same for any sequencer. And you want to add the email reseller to this platform. So you want to know what email address they want that you can share access with. You don't actually want to give them your main login details. That's a really bad idea. You always want to share access to them. So you would share access to them here, and you would give them administrative access, or if it depends on the sequencer, sometimes they have specific ones for resellers, but in this case, you would add them as an admin here. And so what we have done so far, we have gave them access to the Cloudflare. We purchased the domains on Cloudflare. We have gave them access to the sequencer. We have made a list of the email addresses. And the next step is going to be to actually contact the reseller with all this information. So you're going to just send them an email, or sometimes they have a form on their website. If it's Cheap Inboxes, their email is just support@cheapinboxes.com. You email them, you say you got a new account you need to set up, and you send them all the information. So you let them know where you shared access to, you send them the spreadsheet, you let them know all of that information, and then they'll be able to go through and set up your account. Once they have did that, then inside of your sequencer tool, they're actually going to add all the email accounts in there and start the warm-up process. So that is the basics to setting up your infrastructure and what that looks like.
That's it for our video today. We'll have another one coming next week. In the meantime, if you want to join a supportive community of aspiring lead gen agency owners, just check the link in the description. There's no cost. You can ask any question you want, and either myself or team will get it answered. I look forward to seeing you there.